That $700,000 is gone forever. My mother-in-law's voice dripped with satisfaction through the phone. I've already moved it all. Consider it payment for putting up with you for the last 8 years. I stood in my kitchen, staring at the family photo on my fridge, the last picture taken of my parents before the accident. My name is Sophie Anderson, and at 32, I was learning that my mother-in-law had just stolen my parents' entire life savings. What did you just say? I managed to keep my voice steady, though my hands were shaking. The morning sun streamed through my kitchen window, casting shadows that suddenly felt too dark, too heavy. Oh, don't act surprised, Diana sneered. Your parents' joint account? The one you've been so preciously preserving since their accident? I found the paperwork in Michael's office last month. Getting added as a signatory was almost too easy. Your husband really should be more careful with important documents. My stomach dropped. Michael, my husband, had access to my parents' account information because he'd helped me manage their estate after the car accident 2 years ago. We kept the account open, using the interest to fund scholarships at the local high school where my mom had taught for 20 years. Diana, that money was meant for. For what? She cut me off. Some pathetic scholarships. Please, my investment opportunity is much more worthwhile. Besides, you're not even their real daughter. They adopted you, remember? That money should go to a real family member. The adoption card. Of course she'd play that. Diana had never accepted me even after 8 years of marriage to her precious son. To her, I would always be the orphan who got lucky twice. First with my adoptive parents, then with marrying into her prestigious family. Where's Michael? I asked, my mind already racing through possible solutions. Put him on the phone. Hawaii. Diana laughed. On that business trip you thought he was taking to Seattle. He's been seeing someone more suitable for the past 6 months. I just thought you should know everything at once. Consider it my gift to you, the truth. The room spun slightly. Michael was in Hawaii? With someone else? I gripped the kitchen counter, my knuckles turning white. You're lying. Check his credit card statements if you don't believe me, though I suppose money might be tight for you now. Her laugh felt like acid in my ears. I have to go. My yoga instructor is here. Don't bother trying anything. The money's already been moved through several accounts. You'll never see it again. The line went dead. I stood there for a moment, letting the magnitude of what had just happened wash over me. Then, something shifted inside. A clarity I hadn't felt since my parents' accident settled over me. Diana had no idea what she'd just done, or who she was dealing with. I walked to my home office, my heels clicking against the hardwood floors with purpose. Opening my laptop, I pulled up my emails from 6 months ago. There it was, the correspondence with Mr. Patterson, my parents' longtime financial advisor. Diana wasn't the only one who'd been making moves with the account. Harrison and Patterson Financial Services, this is Jessica speaking. Hi Jessica, this is Sophie Anderson. I need to speak with James Patterson immediately. It's an emergency. 5 minutes later, Mr. Patterson's familiar voice came through. Sophie, what's wrong? Deanna Williams just called to inform me she's emptied my parents' account. She claimed she was added as a signatory. There was a pause, then what sounded like typing. When did she say this happened? She found the paperwork last month, apparently. I took a deep breath. But that's not possible, is it? Not with what we set up. No, Mr. Patterson's voice was firm. It's not. After you came to me with concerns about unauthorized access attempts 6 months ago, we moved the actual funds to a new secure account. What Deanna accessed was the dummy account we left as a precaution. The real money is safe, Sophie. Relief flitted through me, quickly followed by a grim satisfaction. And everything was logged. Every attempt, every transfer, every call she made to the bank. The fraud department has been monitoring since the first red flag. Would you like me to contact them now? I thought about Diana, probably sitting in her luxury apartment, feeling smug about what she'd just done. About Michael, apparently in Hawaii with someone else, having no idea what his mother had just set in motion. Yes, I said, my voice steady. And please send me copies of everything. All the documentation, all the attempts, everything. It's time Diana learned what happens when you mess with the wrong family. I'll have it all to you within the hour. And Sophie, Mr. Patterson paused. Your parents would be proud of how you're handling this. After hanging up, I sat at my desk, opening a new folder on my laptop. Years of working in cybersecurity had taught me the importance of documentation, of always being one step ahead. Diana thought she was dealing with a quiet, accommodating daughter-in-law who always kept the peace at family gatherings. She had no idea that I'd been watching, waiting, documenting every subtle threat, every attempted manipulation. My phone buzzed. A text from Diana. "Don't bother calling Michael. He won't believe you anyway. He knows what kind of person you really are." I smiled, thinking of the detailed records Mr. Patterson would be sending over. But Hannah was right about one thing. Michael would soon know exactly what kind of person I was. And his mother was about to learn that the daughter of Claire and Thomas Anderson, adopted or not, was nobody's victim. Opening my email, I saw Mr. Patterson's files already arriving. Each document was another nail in Diana's coffin. Attempted access logs, recorded phone calls, forged signature attempts. She hadn't just tried to steal from me, she'd left a trail of evidence that would destroy her carefully curated image of respectability. I thought about my parents, about their belief in education, in giving back to the community. The scholarships their money funded weren't just about helping students, they were about continuing their legacy of making a difference in people's lives. Diana hadn't just attempted to steal money, she tried to erase their impact on the world. As I began organizing the evidence, my phone buzzed again. This time, it was an email from the bank's fraud department, requesting an immediate meeting. Perfect. Looking at my parents' photo on my desk, I felt a sense of calm purpose. Diana thought she'd won, thought she'd finally put me in my place. She had no idea what was coming. The bank's fraud investigation team didn't waste any time. Within 3 hours of Diana's gloating phone call, I sat in a sleek conference room at First National Bank, facing 2 investigators and the bank's legal counsel. The evidence spread across the table told a story that even I hadn't fully appreciated until now. Mrs. Anderson, Sarah Chen, the lead investigator, gestured to the documents before us. "What we're seeing here isn't just attempted theft. Your mother-in-law created an elaborate scheme involving multiple forged documents, falsified identifications, and attempted wire transfers to offshore accounts." I nodded, taking in the scope of Diana's deception. "When did it start?" "Our records show the first attempt was made approximately 8 months ago," Sarah replied, pulling out a timeline. "She tried to add herself as a signatory using what appears to be your husband's forged signature. When that failed, she attempted multiple times using different approaches." The legal counsel, Mr. Rodriguez, cleared his throat. "What's particularly concerning is the level of premeditation. Mrs. Williams made calls to several bank branches, each time presenting herself differently, sometimes as your family's financial advisor, other times claiming to be acting on your behalf. As they walked me through the evidence, my phone kept buzzing with texts from Diana, each one more smug than the last. "Hope you're not too upset about the money. Maybe this will teach you to know your place. Michael always said you were too attached to your adopted parents' things. Don't worry, I'll make sure the money stays in the real family." I silenced my phone, focusing instead on the task at hand. "What are our next steps?" Sarah leaned forward, her expression serious. "We've already frozen all associated accounts and flagged Mrs. Williams in the banking system. The next step is filing formal charges. Are you prepared to move forward with that?" I thought about Diana's years of subtle cruelty, her constant reminders that I wasn't real family, her manipulation of Michael. "Yes," I said firmly. "I want to press charges." Just then, my phone lit up with a call from Michael. I excused myself and stepped into the hallway. "Sophie, what the hell is going on?" Michael's voice was tight with anger. "Mom just called me, saying the bank froze her accounts." "What did you do?" I closed my eyes, steadying myself. "Where are you, Michael?" "What do you mean?" "I'm in Seattle for." "Stop lying," I cut him off. "I know you're in Hawaii. I know about the affair, and I know what your mother tried to do." There was a long pause. "Sophie, listen." "No, you listen. Your mother tried to steal $700,000 from my parents' memorial scholarship fund. She forged documents, created fake IDs, and attempted multiple fraudulent transfers. Everything was documented. Everything was recorded. So before you defend her, you might want to see the evidence for yourself. She was just trying to what? Help you hide money for your divorce plans? Create a nest egg for you and your girlfriend? The bank has everything, Michael. Every attempt, every call, every forged signature, including yours." Another pause, longer this time. When he spoke again, his voice was different. What do you want? I want you to come home and face what you've both done. The bank's fraud department and their legal team are involved now. This isn't going away. After hanging up, I returned to the conference room where Sarah and Mr. Rodriguez were reviewing additional documents. Mrs. Anderson, Mr. Rodriguez said, we found something else. It appears Mrs. Williams has a history of similar attempts at other banks. This isn't her first time trying something like this. Of course it wasn't. Diana had always lived beyond her means, always had some new investment scheme or business opportunity. I'd never imagined she'd go this far, though. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Diana. Michael will never believe you over his own mother. You're nothing but an orphan playing house. I showed the message to Sarah, who added it to their growing file of evidence. This will help establish pattern and intent, she explained. Her communications show clear premeditation. As we continued through the documentation, a bank security officer entered with new information. They tracked the attempts Diana had made to move the money she thought she'd stolen, multiple transfer requests to accounts in the Cayman Islands and Singapore. If she had accessed the real account instead of the dummy one, Sarah explained, the money would have been nearly impossible to recover. I thought about how close Diana had come to destroying my parents' legacy, all while believing she was entitled to do so. The scholarships that money funded had already helped dozens of students attend college. My mom had always said education was the greatest gift you could give someone. Even after her death, she was still changing lives. We're ready to proceed with formal charges, Mr. Rodriguez announced. Given the amount involved and the extensive evidence of fraud, Mrs. Williams is looking at serious criminal charges. Just then, my phone rang again. This time it was Diana. I put it on speaker. You ungrateful little nobody, she hissed. How dare you involve the bank? Do you know who I am in this community? Actually, Diana, I do know who you are. So does the bank's fraud department, their legal team, and soon, the police. Would you like to know what they found? You're bluffing, but her voice wavered slightly. Multiple forged documents, fake IDs, recorded phone calls where you impersonated bank officials. Oh, and evidence of similar attempts at other banks. Did you really think no one was watching? I was just trying to steal from my dead parents' memorial fund, trying to erase their legacy because you never thought I deserved to be part of your family. You've made that clear for 8 years, Diana, but this time you went too far. There was a long silence. When Diana spoke again, her voice was different, desperate. We can work something out. I'll tell Michael to come home. We can talk about this as a family. Family? I cut her off. You've spent 8 years telling me I'm not family. Now you get to face the consequences of your actions, just like anyone else. I ended the call, looking up to find Sarah and Mr. Rodriguez watching with professional approval. The police will want to speak with her today, Sarah said. Would you like to be present when they do? I thought about Diana's face when she realized everything was documented, about Michael somewhere in Hawaii probably scrambling to damage control. I thought about my parents who had taught me that integrity mattered more than status, that family was about love, not blood. Yes, I said, gathering my things. I want to be there. She needs to understand exactly what she tried to destroy. As we left the conference room, I felt lighter somehow. Diana had tried to take everything from me, thinking I was powerless to stop her. Instead, she'd given me the opportunity to stand up not just for myself, but for everything my parents had believed in. The real money was safe, the scholarships would continue, and Diana was about to learn that underestimating me was the biggest mistake she ever made. The police arrived at Diana's luxury apartment building just as the afternoon sun cast long shadows across the manicured lawns. I stood slightly back, watching as 2 officers and a detective approached her door. The bank's fraud investigator, Sarah, stood beside me, a thick folder of evidence under her arm. Diana's face when she opened the door was something I'll never forget. The color drained from her perfectly made-up face as she saw the officers, then me standing behind them. Mrs. Diana Williams, the detective began. We need to speak with you about multiple counts of attempted bank fraud and identity theft. This is ridiculous, Diana sputtered, her usual composure cracking. Do you know who my family is? Who my husband is? Yes, ma'am, the detective replied calmly. We're also aware of your previous attempts at First National and 3 other banks. Would you like to discuss this here, or down at the station. Just then, Michael appeared in the doorway, looking disheveled and jet-lagged. His Hawaii trip had clearly been cut short. His eyes met mine, and for the first time in our marriage, he looked ashamed. "Sophie," he started, but I held up my hand. "Save it, Michael. The detective here has some questions for both of you about forged signatures and fake IDs." The next few hours were a blur of statements, evidence presentation, and watching Diana's carefully constructed world crumble. The detective laid out everything. Every attempt, every forged document, every recorded call where she'd impersonated bank officials. "The scholarship fund will continue," I told her as the officers prepared to take her statement. "Every penny is safe, still helping students just like my parents wanted. You didn't just try to steal money, Diana. You tried to steal their legacy." Diana's face contorted with anger. "They weren't even your real parents. You were just some orphan they took pity on." "No," I said calmly, pulling out a worn photo from my wallet. "They were the people who taught me that family isn't about blood or status. It's about love, integrity, and standing up for what's right, something you never understood." As Diana was led away for formal questioning, Michael approached me, his face drawn. "I had no idea she was planning this," he said quietly. "About Hawaii, I'm sorry." I looked at this man I'd married, seeing him clearly for the first time. "You may not have known about the fraud, but you knew who she was. You knew how she treated me, how she talked about my parents. You just chose to ignore it." "What happens now?" he asked, his voice small. "Now, I continue my parents' legacy. The scholarships will go on, helping students achieve their dreams. As for us, I twisted my wedding ring off, placing it on the table between us. I think we both know this marriage is over." The divorce proceedings moved quickly. Michael didn't contest anything, perhaps hoping to avoid more scandal. Diana faced multiple fraud charges, her reputation in the community she'd valued so much now in tatters. 3 months later, I stood at my parents' grave, placing fresh flowers beside their headstone. The first round of scholarship recipients had just been announced. 15 students who would get the chance to pursue their education, just as my parents had wanted. "Mrs. Anderson," a young voice called out. I turned to see Maria, one of the scholarship recipients, walking toward me with her mother. "We hoped we'd find you here," Maria said, clutching an envelope. "I wanted to thank you in person. This scholarship, it means everything. I promise I'll make your parents proud." As I hugged this bright young woman, I felt tears in my eyes. This was my parents' true legacy, not just the money, but the lives they continued to touch, the dreams they helped make possible. My phone buzzed. A text from Sarah at the bank. "Diana took a plea deal, significant fines and community service. She's also been barred from any financial positions or decision-making roles." I smiled, tucking the phone away. Diana's punishment wasn't about revenge. It was about justice and consequences. She tried to destroy something beautiful out of spite and prejudice, and instead had only destroyed her own carefully maintained facade. Later that evening, as I sat in my home office reviewing applications for the next round of scholarships, I found myself looking at that last family photo on my desk. My parents' smiling faces reminded me of everything they'd taught me. About strength, about dignity, about standing up for what's right. Diana had thought she could break me by attacking their legacy. Instead, she'd only made it stronger. The scholarship fund wasn't just about money. It was about continuing their work, their belief in education and opportunity. My mom used to say that the true measure of a person isn't in how they treat those they respect, but in how they treat those they don't. Diana had shown exactly who she was, and in doing so, had helped me become stronger, more determined to honor my parents' memory. The next scholarship ceremony would be held in the high school auditorium where my mom had taught for so many years. Looking at the list of recipients, I felt a deep sense of peace. Diana had tried to take everything from me, thinking I was powerless to stop her. Instead, she'd given me the opportunity to prove that family isn't about blood or status. It's about love, integrity, and the legacy we choose to build. My parents would have been proud not just of protecting their legacy, but of using it to help others build their own. That, more than any revenge, was the sweetest victory of all.